folks, this is Eric Walls, field agronomist with Sun Ag. This week on Fieldside Chats, we're going to take a look at early season tissue testing in corn and soybean fields, evaluate the herbicide that we sprayed last week, and then we're going to take a look at a couple perennial weeds. So we're going to stage this corn plant. Remember, we're going to start at the very bottom with corn, and we're going to look at we're looking for a blunt tipped leaf. So that's the coleoptile leaf. That's the first one. So we have one here, V1, 2, 3, 4. We do have a collar on this one, so V5. And not quite there on the next one, but probably within the day. So this plant's V5 at this point. So we've been given a few sample tissue testing bags from Winfield United. We're going to send off to them. They've got an option to scan and send off. We're going to harvest just the top 12 inches of the plant, and when we get them back, we're going to want to clean them off a little bit so there's no dirt on here. That can manipulate the results, obviously, since soil has nutrients in it. So we'll get that back. In this area, we'd want to harvest anywhere between 15 and 20 samples, and then it'd probably be a good idea to, while you're here, to also take a soil sample of this area, and then go to another area and do the same thing. So in a field, you're probably only going to need to take 2 or 3 sample areas to see how the nutrition is how the nutrition is being taken up through the plant. So in the same vein field as last week, we're just going to count how many trifoliates are present. I can see the cotyledons, they're getting pretty yellow. The first unifoliate leaves, they're wind tattered from all the wind we have here in central Illinois. Here's our first trifoliate, so V1. Here's our second, V2. Here's our third, so V3. And then the fourth trifoliate is still curled up. Leaf margins are still touching, so I will count that as a trifoliate. We currently have 3 fully developed trifoliates, so V3 in this field. Been getting questions from growers about when should I apply glufosinate or Liberty to my fields. The beans are small, but there's weeds out there. I would say you need to base it off the weed size, not the crop size. So water hemp needs to be sprayed when it's small. We've already seen in the cornfield, water hemp that's just a couple inches tall, 6, 7 growing points on it already. And we know that Liberty requires great coverage to work, in addition to warm temperatures, humid. So I want to mention 2 perennial weeds this week, one being the Canada thistle, which is just starting to go to the bud stage, which is the reproductive stage of that plant. So since we're at that point now, that's why I want to discuss some options to control Canada thistle. If you're using chemicals, could be Basagran herbicide. So it's a contact herbicide. You're going to need to spray the entire plant. It is safe in grass, it's safe in corn, it's safe in soybeans. So it's a good option to use in many different areas. So, but like I said, you're going to have to make sure it's at that bud stage before you apply that herbicide. Glyphosate, 2,4-D, or dicamba, those products are all systemic, so they're going to move throughout the whole plant. Again, they can be sprayed now when it goes to that reproductive stage, or wait till the fall and do the same thing. So when they're taking those nutrients back down to the roots, they'll also take that herbicide down, and you'll have a better chance of controlling. The best time to control would be when it's in the rosette stage, so it's very small at that point. There's only a couple leaves present. Next best time would be in the fall, and then probably the third best time would be right now when it's going to that reproductive stage. If you don't want to spray, you can use a mower and spray it when it gets to the stage, knock it back. If you want to continually mow it, if you started mowing back in April, be on it like every 10 days. Keep it down. So the next perennial weed that we want to discuss today is the honeyvine milkweed. It's a member of the dogbane family, and I've been noticing it in the El Paso area for probably the past 5 years. Again, it's got an extensive rooting system, vegetative root stalks that grow out, but it can also reproduce through seed pods, which look the same as common milkweed. Like I said, it's a perennial, so it takes a couple years for it to go vegetative, reproductive. Right now when we're spraying post, it's just coming up, and you'll see mainly just a stem with a few small leaves off of it. So getting good coverage on it may be an issue. That may be one of the reasons why it's escaping and starting to be prevalent in the area. Um, so systemic herbicides like Roundup, 2,4-D, dicamba do work well on it. Tillage is not a good method to control this weed. When you slice through it, you slice that taproot, and it actually sends up more sprouts. So herbicides are probably the preferred method to knock this weed back in your fields. The distinguishing characteristic with the honeybine milkweed is that the leaves are opposite of one another going up the stalk, whereas the hedge bindweed and the field bindweed, those leaves are alternating on the stem. So that's one way to easily identify it. So last week we were here, we were taking a look at the water hemp that were in this field, and sprayed it on Thursday, used a dicamba, some glyphosate, mesotrione, and atrazine. So here we are 6 days later. We see a lot of carcasses, but we also see a lot of green tissue out here. A couple inch weed already has 6-7 growing points on it, so getting good coverage is a must. Yeah, the top looks affected by the herbicide, but you see one of the growing points that's very green. Yeah, it looks healthy. I've cut some of these plants in half just to look at the phloem on the inside, and it's still clear. So these plants are alive. I'm not saying they're going to be able to produce seed. The dicamba does a decent job at twisting the plants up and making them less competitive against the corn crop. So the corn may overtake these plants that are injured at this point. As a whole, I'd say we have about 60% mortality that we can visually see out here. The other 40%, there's definitely some life to them yet. But it's something. So if you're spraying your fields, keep coming back and checking them. This corn's at V5. In a couple growth stages, it's going to be off-label for some of those herbicides. So just keep an eye on stuff like that. Before you may have to use something like spray drops to get in here so you're not getting it on much of the plant. So for the coming week, we're going to have about 130 GDUs. As you recall, corn up to the V10 stage requires about 80 GDUs per leaf stage. These warm temperatures, the crop's definitely going to move. Stay active, looking for weeds, staying on top of those, and then also side dress. Any nitrate samples submitted, be sure to let us know. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Until next time, we'll see you then.